McCoy. I'm the general manager of Adobe's digital publishing business, and I'm here to talk about what Adobe's doing and how Adobe's working to enable ePUB adoption. And I guess to start with, though, I'll just go with the why. Like everyone says, well, how do we make ePUB work? And it seems like the first question is, well, why ePUB? And the next question, the answer to that usually is, well, we like standards. But then the next question is, well, why do we want standards? You know, what's so special about that? And so our perspective on it is pretty simple, which is that publishers want to distribute ePUB files, that they make it a variety of different ways. Not 5 different ways or 10 different ways at once. They want to create one file they can distribute to all of their customers, their readers. And ultimately, the readers want to buy from their choice, from multiple points of purchase, and read on their device of choice. They want to be limited to, you have to buy this device if you're going to that store, and I can't read on this other device. Consumers are reading on PCs and with netbooks and giving the PC another leg of life as a consumer device and tablet form factors. We see PC reading continuing. Consumers are reading on smartphones, and of course consumers are reading on dedicated reading devices like the Sony Reader. But consumers think of their books as things they can organize and move and consume where they want, not to be limited. I want this here, and I've got to use this software for that. And if you buy your books, you don't sort them by, my Random House books have to be here on this bookshelf, but my HarperCollins books I can only put on this other bookshelf. You put your books together, not based on the criteria of where you bought it or what publisher published it, and you don't want to do anything different with your digital content. So for publishers and consumers, it just makes sense to have an interoperable ecosystem which is enabled by open standards, and as well, just as an industry, a nascent industry, Adobe feels that we're all best served if the digital book value chain is not controlled by any one company. We think that if there is sort of one store to rule them all globally for all kinds of digital text, that given the central role books and texts play in communication, in culture, in society, and education, it just doesn't make sense for any one company to seek to control that. So it doesn't make sense for us to allow that or enable that to happen. So at Adobe, we don't want to control the ePUB ecosystem. We see our role as being an ecosystem enabler, trying to foster standards, and we certainly want to build tools and services, and ultimately we are a corporation, we want to sell those tools and services. We want to foster an open, level playing field that we and others use for those services. So I was going to do a demo of InDesign offering ePUB today, but actually that's going to happen from another speaker in the next session, the next little segment here. I think that's a great example of an open ecosystem is enabling someone else to do something. It may compete with Adobe, but it's enabled by this open ecosystem level playing field. So the standard ePUB, Adobe views as the standard format for reflow-centric publications. And what we mean by that is content that is designed to adapt to different size screens and different devices. We see this as very complementary to PDF, a standard which has gotten obviously broad adoption for what I call paper-like documents, documents that are final form and paginated. There are times where you might want a PDF even for a digital book. For example, a children's book where every page is itself an image. That's not what ePUB is really designed to represent well. And that's exactly what PDF is designed to represent with high fidelity. What you see is what you get. ePUB is designed to be able to adapt and reflow to 6-inch Sony Reader screens, to 3.5-inch iPhone screens, and PC screens, and let the user choose their font size, for example. It's also a more structured and accessible format. It does have features to enable visual richness, scalable vector graphics, SVG, font embeddings, template support, and you can even embed rich media interactivity. So we're seeing publishers are rapidly adopting ePUB, and Michael already spoke about that, and so I won't repeat that, but we're very pleased that we see ePUB rapidly being adopted, again, in this role that we see as critical as the publication, as the portable document moves beyond the paper-like limitations and representation. So for ePUB authoring, InDesign has become the page layout tool of choice for many classes